This is Take 5 with Bentley Nevada. With us today in the studio for probably the 15th or 16th episode in this series of conversations is Chris McMillan, Senior Product Manager for Bentley Nevada's sensor portfolio. And that includes the Ranger Pro wireless system, which has been kind of the focal point for these discussions. Chris, I think I see the light at the end of the tunnel here. And we can
Yeah,
probably wrap up our discussion, perhaps not in this episode, but the next one. So, feeling like we're in the home stretch here.
certainly always a pleasure to be on the show here. And wireless and Ranger Pro, I certainly have a passion for. So we can take as many of these sessions as it is. There's just a lot to talk about and stuff to cover in a short amount of
Well,
time.
spoken like a true product manager, there's one thing they love to talk about, it's their products. Chris, so let's take a few minutes now to see where you see Ranger Pro fitting in the bigger Bentley portfolio. So at we'll call it the high end, you've got continuous protection systems like Orbit 60 and 3500. At the other end of the spectrum, we've got solutions that require people to walk around to collect data, the Scout and the Comtest products. We've got the Ranger Pro Wireless. There's also some solutions that would be permanently wired condition monitoring solutions. But in that kind of spectrum of assets and products and everything, where do you see Ranger Pro fitting?
Yeah, that's a great question. And really, Ranger Pro, as you kind of mentioned here, given its advantages around fairly easy to deploy, and getting more assets under measurements here, I see this as quite complementary to any condition monitoring program, whether it's just starting out and you want to look at some assets fairly quickly, or an existing monitoring program where you've already got either wired solutions that are out there and you want to expand that network. I see Ranger Pro as it's another tool in the tool shed, for our customers here to leverage. And it is quite complementary to, I think you mentioned, obviously we talked a little bit earlier in one of our previous sessions around portable data collectors, and all the way up to, a large condition monitoring and protection system, as you mentioned, Orbit 60. Wireless feels a great opportunity in the portfolio. And again, it's quite complementary to any condition.
Well, I'm thinking back too, Chris, to the late 1980s, and I realize turn the clock back quite a ways, but that's about the era that the Bentley Nevada Trendmaster solution was introduced. And of course, at that time, wireless, nobody was even using those words. Whereas today, wireless has become pretty much a household term. And I'm guessing that it's not necessarily going to obsolete the Trendmaster concept, but it's certainly going to address a portion of the assets that the Trendmaster solution would have formerly addressed. Is that a fair statement?
It certainly does, right? And if we look at the founding principles of what's needed for these assets, the ability to monitor these assets, ease of installations, lower cost of deployments, whether that's leveraging a product like Trendmaster that we've had for these types of solutions, or leveraging wireless, right? It's just taking the best of what technology is bringing, that wasn't available in the 80s, as you brought up, but hey, it's available today, and adapting and leveraging technologies to provide that additional value. And again, we just see wireless continuing to grow and be accepted as it's proving itself out in the market.
The concept of wireless is gaining more and more traction, as you mentioned. It's displacing applications that might have previously really had no choice. It was either use a data collector or put in a wired system. What if you want to augment the vibration data? In some sense, Bentley is kind of stuck to its knitting with vibration and temperature in the Ranger Pro system. But what if you say, I need something else? I really need some flow. I need some pressure. I need a level indication or
Sure.
something, the chemistry of the process, whatever it might be. And let's say that data doesn't already exist in the process control system, so you can't fetch it from there. What would you tell a customer based on Bentley's use of open protocols? How hard or how difficult is it to add other sensor types?
Well, first I'd tell a customer, stay tuned, right? For us, wireless and Ranger Pro and our plans going into the future for other modalities beyond just vibration. But in the now time frame, other modalities or third-party sensors that are not provided by either Bentley Nevada or existing sensors, and maybe it's not available via DCS. There's a variety of different options to consider. I would say, hey, contact your local sales contact or tech support, and we can evaluate, how to incorporate and really leverage. We talked a little bit about System One as that single pane of glass, if you will. And we've got a lot of opportunities within our System One platform to bring in these other data type sources and correlate, right? You mentioned flow, you mentioned acoustic type sensor that may not be a Bentley product. There's always options to bring this data in and take a view and correlate that with existing, whether it's Ranger Pro, wireless vibration, or maybe one of the wired systems we talked about a little bit earlier.
I'll tell you what, Chris, we're going to put a bookmark in there. If we can twist your arm yet again to join us for one more episode, does that sound like a plan?
So you got it.
Okay, thank you, Chris. Well, you've been listening to Take 5 with